Howdy everybody, welcome to Digi Dane. So I think a Banlist is coming up soon, unless if they've really forgotten about us. We expected to have it in December of last year because we usually do, but that didn't happen, and I think it's for one reason that kind of becomes two. With Nationals and Worlds coming up, if they were to be hefty with restricts and bans, we would have an insanely huge shakeup before people are even playing on the world stage. And for us here in Australia, with our Nationals happening this weekend, we would also have to learn a completely new set roughly within 2 weeks, and see if there are decks we're all missing because of the ban list. Now, speaking of Melbourne's Nationals, I'm gonna be commentating again for the in-person finals. So I'll be commentating for Day 2's top 16, and as far as I know, it'll be through the TAC Games Twitch. This will be on the 27th of January, on the Monday. I don't know what time currently, but hopefully the TAC Games website themselves will post about it and they'll put it up there for themselves. So if you're a huge fan of the stuff I do not hesitate to come and watch. Of course, because I'll only be streaming Day 2's final games, I will be playing the Day 1, which I'm super excited for. Hope to see you there, and I'm glad I'm going to be able to put the Oceanic talent on the map again. Ugh. Gotta get that off though, before I die of heat exhaustion. I mean, it's 37 degrees today, so this ain't any better though, honestly. Back to the video at hand. So despite all the checks I usually write Bandai, today I wanted to talk about what I kind of predict is going to be on the ban list, and generally what I personally would like to see. Now I might miss out on a card or two, but I want to make a couple things clear before we even start this video. One, Bandai has usually kept it pretty brief. They don't tend to go absolutely nuclear on cards, which I think is correct personally. You ban too much and people are going to eventually be upset their favorite pet deck caught a stray. Two, these picks are my personal opinion. Whether they become true in the end is a completely different matter. This is just something I thought would be like fun to discuss, I guess. And lastly, please, for the love of God, realize there will always be good decks after great decks get hit. This is a personal gripe, of course, but too often I hear people cry out for like 7 different bans in one set. Those come through and they're immediately begging for more because now another deck is good. It's weird to me as somebody who's new to TCGs, but it's definitely kind of a card gamer thing I've seen so far. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into it. From here on out, I won't be scripted, so I might forget some stuff. Cut me some slack, this is just for fun. So first off, absolutely nobody should be surprised at both me saying that it requires a restriction, and we all want to see it hit at this point. Get Mirage out of here. This card has been around for a year too long at this point. It is a deck that is incredibly OTK efficient, it is incredibly memory efficient, it is incredibly strong at breaking boards. The list goes on. We all know why the card needs to get a quick restriction. But basically, yeah, the best thing I can say at this point for this card is just either hit it to 1 or just ban it. The last thing I want to do is have more of the Ancient Galaxy loop and then just a 1 of Mirage. I mean, we see that kind of thing with the Anubis already. He is at 1, but there are so many decks that will just easily slot 1 of him in, and then you're absolutely sacked when your opponent, you know, triple trainings into finding just the 1 of the Anubis. So, like, personally, I would like to see it banned at this point. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they will just restrict it to 1. 2. Let's talk about Ukkomon. I'm not super nuclear on Ukkomon. I have wrote so many checks for Ukkomon at this point. Often I've said things like this card is a great band-aid fix for, you know, archetypes that don't have a 3rd set of rookies, which is a lot of decks out there just don't have a 3rd set of rookies. But what inevitably happens is the problem card becomes the fact that despite it is great as a band-aid fix for a lot of decks, the horrible part to this is that it accelerates the great decks. Decks like Purple Hybrid, decks that all they need is a search. These decks are able to just slot in Ukkomon as another searcher to help them to further increase their speed and still keep on tempo, because you're essentially having a searcher rookie without having to pay the 3 cost. On one hand, you can look at it and say, well, you pay 1, it's fine. Paying that 1 is often a good thing, considering that you are paying 1 to end your turn first, you give your opponent 1 memory, and at best they give you 1 back, and then you are going to Digivolve in Raising, play out a training. That 1 cost is technically still choking your opponent to 1, and it confuses me sometimes when people are like, oh, well, you pay 1 for it, so like it's whatever, right? No, you are paying 1 to literally insta-cycle your rookies and then just keep moving forward anyway with a search. So this card needs to get hit to 1 as well, I believe. Again, I've written so many checks for this, but like, I have to at some point say bye-bye to Ukkomon. Alright, number 3, we got Jackraid. So, we joked about Jackraid getting hit in my deck profile with Zach, who came second. Good mate of mine, he came second with Purple Hybrid. But lo and behold, Purple Hybrid has been doing really well. And whilst I think that hitting Ukkomon would be a great band-aid fix to that problem, if that is a problem to you, I personally don't really genuinely dislike Purple Hybrid. I think it's a really, really interesting engine that people can slot in just about anything to play with the deck. But Jackraid is a problem card considering that you can gain like 7 memory in a turn for nothing, basically. You just have to do your game plan and then grab them back, and you will be gaining like way too much memory for way too little cost. Back in the day, of course, you know, Jackraid was a card that it was difficult to get 20 cards into the trash, but now it is beyond easy to do it. And they've hit Hammer Spark to 1, and it just surprises me that this card is still around, I guess, especially after the ban list, but I assume that they maybe just didn't see it, like, or didn't think it was going to be as prevalent as it was, or as it is. Maybe I'm harping on a little bit too much about Purple Hybrid, but you essentially are able to run close to setcon in terms of bombs in your security, whilst still having an incredibly aggressive engine. So yeah. So number 4, I want to talk about Takemikazuchi as a whole. Personally, I genuinely think the problem card for this deck is Balmon. Balmon's a bit like inherent ability to Digivolve, trash something, Digivolve into that trash Digimon is all well and good. It's very cool. The biggest problem is the fact that at the end of it all, you don't actually have to pay for it. You're essentially you're going 9 into your opponent's turn, giving them 9 memory, and then you're Digivolving into Takemikazuchi and then just saying, whoopsie, it's my turn now. My bad, I didn't actually mean to give you all that memory. As an effect, I think it's incredibly cool. I think it's cool that, like, if you trash something, you should be able to Digivolve into it. I was waiting for something like this for, like, Drakmon back in BT9. But the problem is that, again, you are taking so much memory, and then you are just ripping it back with Takemikazuchi specifically. You are taking it back to 3, and then you're taking back that extra 1, which allows you to continue your turn after you have done so much already. And then, to top it off, you're OTKing. So it's a deck that I kind of understand exists in the meta. I'm not, like, too pressed with Takemikazuchi overall. I don't particularly like a deck that can just, you know, turn 2, explode, and then still only give your opponent 3 to 4 memory. Like, it's a bit much, but yeah, like, I genuinely, if I was going to take any card design-wise out from Takemikazuchi, it would be first-hand Balmon, probably, to be honest. I can't really think of another card in the deck specifically that needs a little bit of a hit. So first and foremost, I think that Balmon might be the Digimon to, like, actually take a hit here, but there's a really, really high chance that it'd be something like Loogamon as well, if that was, like, the secondary option, considering that Loogamon is a card that is able to take a Tamer and just play it for free from both hand or trash, which, as far as I can think of, like, right now, there's no other rookie in the game that does that much, and then gains you a memory. Damn, dude, that's crazy. So you're already almost always going to be starting at, for example, 4, and then you're, like, with a Cracker Fang. And that doesn't even account for, you know, the AGs that you've been playing prior to it. It's not difficult for this deck to hit 5 memory, and so it's just crazy to me, because especially too, it being a, like, DNA deck, you can scramble play out a Loogamon. It gains you a memory, and then we go all the way from this Loogamon into Takemikazuchi without the Balmon, because we were just at 5 memory, and then you're able to, you know, DNA, make the new stack. The new stack will revert it back to 3, take 1 back, go to 2, and then you're just off to the races, because DNA Digivolved, it's a new Digimon, it's able to swing. So this is probably one of my biggest problem decks, personally. As you can maybe tell that my, you know, rant has been a little longer than any of the other 3 cards we've seen so far, but yeah, dog, this deck is super duper kind of annoying. Nobody really likes sitting through a 4-minute combo, especially if people take a long time to do it. I know that in a competitive environment, people aren't going to take a long time to do it because they know what their deck does, but they will take a while when it comes down to doing or figuring out the combo line fully. So let's move on, because otherwise I'm going to get a little bit too more in the paint about this one. So personally, I think that those are like the absolute most, you know, they're going to probably for sure going to get a hit in the next ban list. And now I'm moving out a little bit outside of that into, you know, other decks that I think that are like extremely competitive, that if they were going to get a hit, I would not be surprised that they get a hit, right? Starting really quickly with Leviamon. So Leviamon, not as a whole, but I believe at some point either Protoform or the Dark Animal Engine is going to get a hit. Because one of the two kind of has to take a bit of an L at this point. These are both incredibly memory efficient, you know, engines that are great for the decks that they go into. Purple across the board has just been slapping the Dark Animal Engine into anything and just seeing if it works, and a lot of the time it does. It probably needs to take a hit at this point. I would be very surprised if they don't hit Protoform. But like looking forward from that, maybe they hit the Cerberus X, for example, because Cerberus X is able to just allow for extreme aggression, allow for wider boards, and it's just pretty cheap to get into with the other things below it. I couldn't really say specifically which of the Dark Animal Engine you would actually hit other than like Protoform, because Protoform is really, really specific to this. And then specifically kind of for Leviamon, maybe Levia itself gets a hit, because that moves on to the next problem deck, which is SGDL, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't like SGDL. It is Setcon 2.0 to me. And that is just a personal opinion across the board that I'm throwing out there to the internet, which I know is a bad idea. SGDL to me is very, very rough around the edges in terms of if you don't not have a deck that is, you know, built to defeat it in a sense, you're going to have a problem. There is a lot of ways to defeat it, but it is more and more every single set. It is getting more and more pieces, and every single time it gets a new piece, it is just getting way more tools to do way too much. Personal opinion, of course. So one of the things that I think you can hit from that is probably going to be Chaos Mode. Whoa. Okay. Hear me out. Or Leviamon. Chaos Mode is a card that is really strong at keeping you in the game. So this card is not only able to strike down your opponent's Digimon or Tamers on the field, it's able to trash your opponent's security and recover one for your own. And then, if it sticks on the board or doesn't, you are essentially getting a free Digimon played out from your trash. So you're getting Leviamon gets played out off of it, and then you are just going hell for leather on your opponent's board because it's going to snipe the smallest, snipe the biggest, and then you're gaining 2 more memory to start your turn. Man, like, personally, I've never enjoyed playing against Chaos Mode. I've enjoyed playing Chaos Mode, and that's the funny part of this. And that's what I mean about, like, talking about pet decks copping astray. Because if you hit Chaos Mode, we are going to see a lot of people be pissed that the Loogamon deck is no longer playable. Because that deck already isn't playable, unfortunately. And I don't really want to see that deck go, because it's actually pretty cool. That's the funny part, right? But coupled with SGDL, it'd be kind of nice to see that card go. So maybe a combo restriction or something like that. I'm not sure. Couple more quick ones, just so that I'm not being super biased. One, Magna X. This one kind of falls into, you know, prediction unless that I want it to happen. I don't really mind Magna. I think if your deck is equipped to, you know, deal with it, then it should be able to deal with it. But Magna is a huge gatekeeper to a lot of rogue decks. So, like, I completely understand people who are like, fuck this card. Screw this card, considering that, you know, if you're not equipped for it, then you are just a sitting duck waiting to die. It is extremely aggressive now with Zubagon Punch and, you know, Blitz Omnis. And, you know, it's cheap to get into. You can Primogenitor into it. You can still Digivolve using the Awakening of the Golden Knight. It might be worth it just to put Magna X to 1. Again, not my biggest concern in these competitive events, but at a locals level, I wouldn't be surprised if Bandai hit it. Ancient Grey, dude, we gotta hit the BT4 Ancient Grey. I am the biggest enjoyer of doing 5 checks and then staring at my opponent as I play out Gotsumon and swing for game in that same turn. But I understand being on the other side of it too. BT4's Ancient Grey has to go. This card is just disgusting. It put it to 1. If you see the 1, then just, you know, so be it at that point, get sacked. But it is incredibly strong, and yeah, like I'm just kind of aiming for all of the big decks at the moment just to talk about. Imperial Dramon, get that the fuck out of here. I don't want to see any of those cards. None of them. Davis Ken to 1. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say. That's all that has to be said. Davis Ken to 1. I'm sick of this deck printing 4 memory, and then, you know, still getting killed, and then your opponent is like, oh man, if I just saw Stingmon, bro, or if I just saw the XV, shut the fuck up. Oh god. I think lastly, off of the top of my head, I gotta talk about Diminimon. So Diminimon has been creeping up in power, and as much as I want this deck to really start taking, you know, precipice, considering the fact that Digimon has been incredibly aggressive for the last, like, 3 or 4 sets now. The card that I would hit for Diminimon specifically is kind of difficult because we have already hit the TK and it didn't matter. Maybe at this point you just gotta hit the Patamon. Maybe at this point you just gotta hit Magnamon, which stops the reduced Digivolution into that card. Maybe you just have to hit the Heaven's Emissary. Do with that what you will. This is a deck that I like a lot, but I can understand the frustration at why it is becoming more and more prevalent in the meta again. Woo! Got a little bit nuclear there, didn't I? Okay, so again, one last time, I wanted to cover almost every single, like, meta deck at the moment because there's like 10. And don't get me wrong, I think that most of the decks in the meta at the moment are, like, totally fine. Like, genuinely, I think most of these decks could just not even take a hit, and we could just move on with our lives, except Takemikazuchi. I'm not a fan of huge nuclear ban lists. I really do like this meta because it's super diverse. The only problem I have with it is that it is extremely aggressive, and if you aren't equipped to deal with extremely aggressive boards, extremely aggressive game states, you're just gonna fall behind on your rogue deck. So with that, those are my quick picks. I hope I didn't miss anything, and don't forget to let me know what you'd like to see change. Oh my god, I forgot about Mother Shoto. Fuck that deck! Mother and Shoto just need a combo restriction because, oh my gosh, it just gatekeeps so many decks. And, like, my biggest flaw for that is that it's a control, you know, strategy, and control decks need it, but that needs a restriction. Okay, yeah, so comment down below what you'd love to see, you know, change down the line with the ban list in the comments below, and I hope to see y'all at the Melbourne Nationals this weekend in Melbourne. Don't be afraid to say hi. Bye!